I'm the last person in America to jump on the frozen yogurt train. I love the tangy flavor yogurt brings, but most versions are nowhere near as creamy, rich, and smooth as my real love, ice cream. So Dan is here to show us how to make a homemade version of frozen yogurt that's better than any store-bought version out there.
So, Bridget, I know your love is ice cream, right? And I know you've probably had this experience a lot of times with frozen yogurt. I have a scoop right there.
Want me to try it?
Yeah, just go ahead and grab some.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. This is what sunk the Titanic.
So this is yogurt that's been frozen. This is not frozen yogurt.
I gotcha. Okay.
We're going to do something really different here. The reason that this doesn't work is yogurt has a lot of water. We need to think about yogurt as basically milk.
Okay.
If you take milk and try and freeze it, you get hard ice. Add a little bit of sugar, it still isn't that good.
Sweet hard ice.
Sweet hard ice, yeah. So we're gonna do a number of things to control the water. The first is straining it. So this is 3 layers of cheesecloth, and I have a quart of whole milk yogurt. So whole milk yogurt is really important. It has a fair amount of fat in it, and we need that fat. It's what gives ice cream its nice, rich, creamy texture. You also don't want to choose a sweetened or flavored yogurt at this point. You don't know how much sugar is in there, and sugar is a really important factor for this dish. We're gonna let this strain. I'm gonna cover it with plastic, and we will pop it in the fridge. This needs to sit for at least 8 hours, but it can go overnight.
Well, Greek yogurt is a little bit thicker. Did we try that here?
It is, yeah. So before we went to the effort of straining and waiting overnight, we tried Greek frozen yogurt, and it wasn't very good. And the reason is, you know that kind of dusty texture that you get in Greek yogurt sometimes?
Yes, a little bit chalky.
A little bit chalky. So that gets exacerbated when you freeze it. And what that's from is that yogurt is usually centrifuged to remove out all of the whey. And during that process, they damage some of the proteins, and they really have this gritty kind of fuzzy texture on your tongue. And when we actually froze that, it was terrible.
Wow.
So this, we don't have that problem. It's very gentle, and we get a very creamy product. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge. So this yogurt has drained for about 12 hours, and you'll see that it's really transformed. I'm gonna take this plastic off. You see it start to be dry around the edge right there, right?
Looks like yogurt cheese.
It does, it does. We're gonna deal with this in a second, and we'll see how beautiful that is. But this is what I'm really interested in. Look how much whey we got out.
Tons of liquid.
And that's great, because that makes ice, and we don't want too much ice. So what I'm gonna do is first pour off 3/4 of a cup of this. Okay, perfect. This 3/4, we're gonna ditch it. So for the next part, we're gonna pour this in, and we should have about a half a cup, but this we're going to keep. There's another trick we can do, and that's actually to immobilize that liquid so that it can't turn into ice crystals. And we're gonna do that with the oldest ice cream stabilizer in the world, unflavored powdered gelatin. And we're only gonna use a teaspoon of it. We're gonna let it sit and soften for 5 minutes, just as we do when we add this to sauces and stocks, and then we're gonna microwave it to soften it. So this microwave for 30 seconds, and you can see that it's nice and steamy, and the gelatin is completely dissolved. So while we have this nice and warm, we're gonna add some flavorings in. I heard you're a big fan of ginger.
I love ginger.
So
Marianne as well.
I don't have Marianne, but I do have 2 kinds of ginger that we're gonna add in.
Awesome.
So we have a tablespoon of fresh ginger and a teaspoon of powdered ginger, ground powdered ginger. So the fresh and ground ginger both provide their own kind of ginger flavor. They're really different, and they're very complementary, so having them both in there is really important. So while this is nice and warm, we're gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna strain it out, and we can mix up our base. So our ginger infusion has been infusing for 5 minutes, so we're gonna turn our focus to the yogurt. And we're gonna mix everything in this bowl here. So I'm gonna get this out of the way.
Get it out of the way, I get it.
A lot of good opportunities for jokes here. So I'm just gonna scrape off this excess on here. I'm gonna get all that yogurt in. So while I have my strainer here, I'm gonna use it to pass this through. So the powdered ginger is gonna go right through, that's fine. We wanna get rid of the fresh stuff. And I use my spatula just to press on it, make sure we get all that liquid out.
You can really smell that ginger.
I know, it smells good, doesn't it? What's great about the yogurt is it's bright and acidic, and that really works with the ginger, more so than I think than ice cream. Okay, so for the rest of our ingredients, we're gonna start with 3/4 a cup of sugar. We could use all sugar to get this to the texture that we want, and we know that sugar is not just sweetness, right? It also affects texture. But by the time we get to that nice creaminess, it's gonna be too sweet.
Okay.
So we're looking to a really unusual ingredient for ice cream, and this is actually Lyle's golden syrup.
This is the stuff that I use at home to make treacle tarts.
But now we're gonna use it for frozen yogurt, right? Totally different use, some of the same science behind why it works. So when we add granulated sugar, that is sucrose. That's a single sugar molecule. When we add Lyle's, we're actually adding something called invert sugar. So some of that sucrose has been split into 2 molecules, fructose and glucose. Now the freezing point depression, how low it goes and how creamy and soft it is right out of the freezer, is totally determined by the number of molecules dissolved in the water. So by adding a small amount of Lyle's, we're adding more molecules, but not making it any sweeter. So we get a really nice scoopable product, but it's not too sweet.
Ingenious.
Ingenious. And finally, 1/8 teaspoon of salt. So if we were making an ice cream base with the custard and eggs, we'd have to do cooking and tempering and all that stuff. This, we're just gonna whisk together.
I happen to love this. No stovetop, no pan in sight. Dan is just mixing everything in a bowl. I'm coming around to frozen yogurt.
You are, huh? You haven't even tasted it yet. That's pretty good.
It's just because I'm lazy.
So our big concern here is making sure that the sugar is fully dissolved. So sometimes you can feel some grittiness with your whisk. That's a pretty good technique. Even better is grabbing a spoon. And I'll let you try it. Tell me if you get any grains of sugar in there.
Okay. Very smooth.
Okay, so I'm gonna cover this with plastic. We're gonna pop it in the fridge, and we want this to get down to about 40 degrees before we churn it. That makes churning a little faster, and we'll have smaller ice crystals because of that. It's time to churn. So we've got our base over here, just came out of the fridge, so it's about 40 degrees, which is ideal. I've got my ice cream maker here. Now, this insert base here, really important to freeze this at least 24 hours and preferably 48 hours ahead of time.
I keep mine in my freezer all the time.
Then you're all ready to go. Whenever you wanna make frozen yogurt, right?
That's right.
That's your new thing.
Yep.
So the dasher, that goes in the center, very important. And then we'll put the lid on here. So I'm gonna turn this on. Okay, you can see that it's thickened up nicely thanks to that gelatin. It's trapped a lot of that water. We're gonna look for 21 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, about 50% of the mix is gonna be frozen, which is ideal. Going longer, it's not very efficient to freeze it in here because it's starting to get very thick at that point, and you also risk turning the milk fat into butter. So 25 to 35 minutes, but we're gonna look for 21 degrees Fahrenheit, and then be ready to pull. So it's been 30 minutes. I'm gonna take the temp here, and we are at 21 degrees. Perfect, right?
Spot on.
Spot on. So this is kind of soft serve at this point, is gonna go right into the freezer. You wanna work relatively quickly, because the faster you harden it, the smaller the ice crystals. Okay, so this is gonna go into the freezer. You wanna put it in the back near the fan, which is the coldest part, so that it cools really rapidly. And we're gonna leave this in there for at least 2 hours, but overnight is also fine. I have fully hardened ginger frozen yogurt. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. Very scoopable.
Very scoopable. All right. Ready to dig in?
I am so ready to dig in. I have to say, just looking at it, it's incredibly smooth.
Super smooth, no iciness.
That ginger flavor, though, absolutely amazing. It's a little bit spicy, which I love. And you can get this ginger flavor and some other flavors of frozen yogurt, all from our website at americastestkitchen.com. I still got mad ice cream love, but there might be room for a little frozen yogurt in my lineup of frozen desserts.
Excellent.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
For a creamy, smooth texture, drain plain whole milk yogurt and dissolve a little gelatin with the yogurt whey to trap water. Along with sugar, use Lyle's golden syrup, which helps the yogurt stay scoopable straight from the freezer. Chill the yogurt base in the fridge before freezing in a machine, and there you have it. From our test kitchen to your kitchen, the very best homemade frozen yogurt you'll ever have and I've ever had. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.